Let's start on Program 6 for Unit 9 by looking at it from the user's point of view. Here's how the program will look once it's written and running. The user types a name in this space here and clicks More. A second space appears. The user enters another name and perhaps more. Finally, the user clicks Pick Favorite, and the computer displays its favorite name. We'll come back to this graphical user interface in just a moment. But now let's look to see how the program will look from our point of view once the multiple entry widget is already written. The graphical user interface is simple. After we create a main window, there are just two widgets, our new multiple entry widget and a label where the favorite will be displayed. The multiple entry widget is everything at the top, and favorite is just this small part at the bottom. We can see that when the multiple entry was created, the prompt Enter Names was given, the name for the button was given, and we specified which function should be called when Pick Favorite is clicked. That's this one over here. So what does this function do when the user clicks Pick Favorite? First, it goes to the multiple entry called user input and gets what the user has entered. This get method must get all of the names that the user has entered. So when we write it, we'll write it so that it returns a list of all these names. Names will be the list then of the names that the user has entered. Here on this line, we set the text for the favorite label to My Favorite Name Is, and don't yet put the name. Then we enter a loop going one by one through the names in the list returned by user input get. As soon as we come to one with 5 or more characters, we add it to the text in the favorite label and stop the function. If by any chance we go through all the names and none of them has at least 5 characters, then we add to the end of what's already displayed, My Favorite Name Is, the very first name. So what remains now is for us to write the multiple entry widget. Let's look a little bit more carefully at what it contains. Everything in this window, except the last line, is part of the multiple entry widget. This button is packed at the bottom. This label here is packed at the top. As we create new lines, each one is also packed at the top, just below any that are already existing, but always above the button that's packed at the bottom. These lines appear to have just one element in them, but each one is written as a frame. So this line is a frame containing just one thing, that's a label. This line is a frame containing just one thing, a label. But this last line is a frame containing a label and also the More button. We won't actually need to keep track of all the frames. Instead, we'll keep a list of where each of these individual entry boxes can be located. However, we do need to remember the last frame, because the last frame is where the More button will be added. The user sees the More button drop down from one position to the next. But what we'll really do is destroy the existing More button and then add a new one after we've created it to the last frame. We'll pick up from here in the next part of the screencast.